And welcome, my friends, to the first and not the last of the workshops that we will be doing here at Create Your Business. I am super excited to share this with you guys, and I see a couple people here live that I actually know. I don't. There's some people that I don't know, but that's okay. I'll get to know you later. So what I'm bringing this up is because there's going to be some things that you will probably, for those of you who've been with me a while, will recognize and just consider this a reminder. But there's also some new information that I am sharing with you today, which is why I'm like super excited about this. So let's get started on this and get going. As you all know, I'll be doing Q&A at the end if you want, but you can always feel free to down below in the chat box if you guys have any questions or if you have anything that you want to say or comments or whatever, by all means, add that in there. So today we're going to be talking about goal setting and your strategy. I am going to touch a little bit about what happened with your marketing plans last year. And before we get into how to set these strategic goals for 2024, I'm also going to talk about a productivity process. Now, I know that a couple of you I've worked with one-on-one as clients before, and so this productivity process is going to be super new to you. So I think you're going to really appreciate this. But I've actually had a couple of clients, and I took them through this process last year, and I did it on myself too. And I have to tell you, last year, when I started doing this process, it was the most productive year I think I've ever had in like a really long time. So I'm really super excited to share this with you. So one of the things that I wanted to say about this is, as I'm moving through this, there's a lot of prompts and a lot of questions. So I'm not expecting you to answer everything today. And when I send everybody the replay link that's going to be listed in the email this weekend, you may want to go through it and just pause and go to each slide and pause and go to each slide and pause. But if you feel that moment where you want to talk about it or you want to write something down or you want to share it in the chat, by all means do so. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to be going with a lot of questions and a lot of prompts. But what's going to be really fascinating is if you do take the time to go through all of this, and even if you have to watch the replay and hit the pause button, when you compile it all together, you're going to see a really accurate and concise picture that's going to give you some clarity about what happened last year and how you can use that information to help you move into this year. So for those of you who are new to me, and I see a ton of new people, especially those of you who are watching the replay today, who have not met me before, I'm a mom to a college student. I'm sure there's a few of you who've known me for so long where I was like, I'm a mom to a high schooler. I'm a mom to middle schooler. He's in college now. Oh my God, he's in college. So I have a college student now. My office mate, Cooper, is with me today. He's back there making a whole bunch of noise, and occasionally you'll see a little black nose that'll pop up. So that's who that is. So I'm also developer of the Create Your Business subscription content development program. Since 2010, I've taught over 125 social media workshops. I used to teach down at the National Entrepreneur Center in Orlando. So I've worked with hundreds of small business owners, all different types of people, people who have done products, people who have sold services. So I'm not just one of these people who focuses strictly on just consultants or just coaches. I personally have two businesses. I have the content marketing consulting business as well as the Create Your Business program. So when I talk about productivity and getting so much done with two businesses, that's impressive. So I'm going to share with you when I get to all that part right there. So well, let's talk about this a little bit more. When I'm talking about creating, I got some people here in the, hold on a second, two people view. There we go. Hold on a minute. Let me get some people in here. Okay. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Whoop. So I wanted to talk about my YouTube channel, which I spent a lot of time last year growing, and I'm so proud of myself for being so consistent with it. So my YouTube channel called Create Your Business, all of the workshop replays are always going to be up there. So if you do happen to miss the link in an email, or you are in my LinkedIn group and you haven't seen the link, you can always go to my YouTube channel. You're going to see it up there. Next month, we are not doing workshops. We're only doing workshops once a quarter. So next month, I'm going to be doing a challenge, and I'm going to be doing how to stay consistent with your content in our LinkedIn group. So check your inbox for more details on that. So let's get started here. I want to talk about something. I'm going to see if I can move this down here. It feels like it's in my way. I want to talk about something here before we set the stage for this and start talking about strategy. You know, everybody always says this, especially towards the end of the year. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? That's like a thing. And then we all go, oh, I don't know. I'd do this. I'd start a business. I'd grow my business. I would do this. I would do this. I would do this. So I want you to think about this in a different way. I want you to think about it like this. What if you knew you had a path to move forward, and you knew as you were moving through it that there would be times that you would fail along the way? What would you be doing to help you give the strength and confidence to keep pushing forward? Because that's the thing about the fail question. What did you know if you could fail? You could not fail. And that's just like a wonderful dream. You know, it's like a great thing, and everybody can post it up in memes and do videos about it. But that's not reality. Our reality is, when we do something, especially when we're doing something huge or we're doing something different, we're going to fail. So what if you went into this year thinking to yourself that there could be points along the way, and these points would define my path, and by extension, allow me to get closer to my goals? Then what would you do? Would your answer change? So think about that. I want you to think about that, because I'm not here to tell you that everything's going to be perfect. Having been in business for 24 years, I know personally what happens. I know how things change. I know how things can move and shift and chance. So my thought process with this, and what I want you to do as I'm setting this foundation with you, is to think more along the lines of, what are you going to do when these things happen? When the obstacles happen, when the challenges happen? What is side of you that's going to remind you of your why for doing this? What are you going to do? So I wanted to bring this into our conversation today, because I think it's a really important place, and it's a really good place to start with your foundation. Because one of the things that I wanted to bring up about all this, and I heard this, I really can't take credit for this, but I heard this on one of the videos that I watched, and she said, living your best life isn't what you do, but how you feel when you're doing it, and how you continue to keep moving forward. That's a really, really important step right there. And so when we talk about living our best life, and everybody's like, oh, I'm living my best life and doing this, it's not just about the things you're doing, but how you're feeling and how you can continue to keep moving forward. And that's what we're going to talk about as we keep going through this whole process. So let's review 2023 a little bit, so we can start getting into 2024. And this is what I was talking about. So I'm going to go through a whole bunch of questions and some prompts and stuff. And again, I'm not expecting you guys all to answer everything at this very moment. But I would encourage you to go back through this and watch the replay, and maybe hit the pause button, because when you do answer all of these questions and you do put it all together, either it's in a Word document or a piece of paper, or however you do things, you're going to start to see a very clear picture of what happened in 2023, what was good, and how can I move forward in 2024. So let's talk about this. So what were your plans for last year? Did you have a big goal that you were trying to accomplish? If you had several goals, write all of that down. If you had one big goal, if you had 10 goals, all of it. What were your plans for last year? And you had to look back into 2023, what changed for your business in the last 6 months? And I want you to be specific. I know I did this exercise with you guys all years and years ago, and it was right about the time when we hit COVID. And COVID was one of those things that changed everybody's business. But now we're a couple years past it, so we can't really point our fingers towards it, but can we say, did the work slow down? Did we see an increase in revenue? Did we finally complete our website? Renelle, did we finally finish our website? Did we finally get our marketing plan in place? What changed for you in the last 6 months? Last 6 months of the year, from June until December, what big changes did you see and how were they connected to that goal that you were trying to work through? And what happily surprised you with your business in 2023? What were your big wins? Were there things that you thought, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe that I finally did this, or I finally got my YouTube channel up. I finally got my, marketing plan together. I finally got my website done. What was the things that happily surprised you? And I say the word happily because these are good things that surprised us. What were your big wins going into last year? And what are 3 things are you the most proud that happened with your business last year? Again, lots of questions, but when you start to write these down, one of the things that you're going to see is you're going to see a pattern. You're going to start to see things that are connected that maybe you didn't think about that were connected before because you weren't asked the questions in this way. And that's one of the reasons that I do want you to try to answer as many questions as you possibly can. Hopefully in the replay, if you can do it now, by all means do it. And if you're having a moment of insight throughout the workshop today, I would love to see you share that with us in the chat, please. So let's talk about your challenges. What were your 3 biggest challenges with your business? Could be, I struggled making sales. I struggled expanding my reach on social media. I struggled trying to find a virtual assistant. All these kinds of things, thinking about what are your 3 biggest challenges. And I'm talking about the big ones, not the little tiny ones that you solved in like 2 weeks. What was something that consistently was in your face that you had to deal with? And how did you rise up to face these challenges? What did you do differently to deal with your challenges? And if you didn't do anything differently and you're just like, I just responded the same exact way that I always do, that's a sign right there that if you are doing the same thing over and over again, what is that they say? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So if you find that when you're answering these questions and you're saying, I didn't do anything differently to deal with my challenges, I did it the same exact way, that's something that in 2024, you're definitely going to want to work on. And so when you take a look at these challenges and how you dealt with them, what I'd like you to do, and this is going to take you a while, so I totally get it. You're not going to do it this very second. What was the lesson that you learned from each of these challenges? Was there a hidden meaning or an opportunity that came from these experiences? Because it's one thing for us to talk about our challenges and how we handle them, but what did we learn from them? And if you didn't learn anything from it, that's another sign that perhaps when things are happening, you should take a step back and say, okay, what is this trying to teach me? What's going on here? And so that's a really, really important piece of this. And it kind of even goes back to the very, very beginning when I started talking about the failing, different points along the way. We are going to fail along the way. But what's really important is that we learn the lesson. And then we understand the meaning or the opportunity that happened with these experiences. This is how we review what happened. It's not just about how many followers we got or how many posts we got or how many views our YouTube channel got, because that's really great and that's really fabulous. But for you to really see your business move to the next level, you really need to start doing this kind of work and understanding how to get in, how to understand more about what's happening and how you're going to respond to it. Because as small business owners, there's nothing except us to respond to it. We are our own bored. We are everything. So we are the ones that have to go through this process. We are the ones that have to think about what's going on. And so hopefully some of those questions can spark some thoughts in you that you might not have thought about in a certain way, that when you write all your answers together, you're going to start to see some pieces that are connected that you didn't realize were connected. That's one of the greatest things I love about that exercise that I just shared with you. So let's move on here. And of course, we're going to talk about creativity. One of the things that I'm always going on with you guys about is I really believe in the fact that we should all be spending so much more time in our right brain. And for those of you who've heard me talk about this before, it's going to be a really good reminders, because I probably haven't talked about this for a while. I don't think I did in our last few workshops. Can't remember if I did or not, but it's always a good reminder, because one of the things that I talk about here has to do with Einstein, and he's the one that came up with this process. He calls it combinatory play. And basically what he's talking about is finding ways that we can tap into that right side of our brain. Einstein learned how to play the violin, which, if you didn't know this is fascinating, because, when he was struggling with a math problem, he just spent hours playing music until the answer appeared to him as an insight. And it sounds like really strange, like, isn't he just procrastinating? Isn't he doing something different? But all he was doing is he was spending some time in his right side, because math is a left brain. It's an analytical. So if you try to spend too much time in the analytical, all you're doing is just getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the problem. But when you release it and let it go into this side of your brain, that's when you open it up, and you can actually, as I always like to say, you can get both sides of your brain working at the same time. And when I talk about being creative, I want you to understand, I'm not talking about playing the violin, or, writing a book, or painting, or anything like that. For me personally, one of the biggest things that I do when I am doing something and I'm trying to open up that right side of my brain is I go out and I walk my dog. And sometimes it's walking my dog in a whole different neighborhood. Seeing new houses, seeing even sometimes I look at the doors. Everybody's got, these really interesting doors, or everybody's got, something in their windows, or especially around the holidays, everybody had their stuff decorated. So what it does is it's something different, and it stimulates that right side of my brain. And so when I take my dog for a walk and I have a question in my mind, and by the time I get home, there's a really good chance that I've broken down some of my barriers, and I've got some answers that I might not have gotten if I was just sitting here at my computer trying to figure out how to get through it. Yes, I do occasionally do some painting. But again, I'm not saying that that's something that you have to do, because we all are different. We all have our different things that we love to do. And I would highly encourage you that if there's something that you do, like painting, some of my stuff's back here. It's never going to be hung in a museum. I just do it for the pure sake of creating. But another thing that I like to do is I create social media images, and that stimulates my right side of my brain too. I love thinking about colors being next to each other, and the images, and creating Pinterest pins, creating stuff for Instagram, creating stuff like that. That process of how I go through it is the opportunity that I can get throughout my day to tap into that right side of my brain. So sometimes when I'm working on an image, I'm also thinking about, what's the marketing message that I'm doing? What is the sales that I'm working on? And it's like that whole thing where you come to it with a question, and you come back out going, okay, I got an answer. But those are my things. Now, I'm not in any way saying that everybody's got to walk their dog or create your own social media images. But I want you to take a look at opportunities that you have throughout your day, throughout your week, especially on your weekend, and think about things that you could be doing to be creative. So for those of you who have never really done this and you don't know where to start, I'm going to give you a suggestion here. I'm going to suggest that you grab a piece of paper and a pencil or pen or whatever you want to use, and start to doodle. People who can just doodle, it's just drawing out a form, just doing something, drawing circles, drawing shapes, drawing, smiley faces, drawing the mountains, drawing the water, whatever it is. whatever you got going on. It doesn't really matter because nobody's going to be grading you. Nobody's going to be looking at it. But let me tell you, the very, very act of doodling itself, it's really interesting. Um, it's when you are engaged in doodling, it allows your thoughts to not spiral into some obsessive train of thought. There is something that happens when we have a pen or a pencil in our hand and we're actually doing the physical act of doodling. That goes up to our brain, and our brain gets, I don't want to say hyper focused on what we're doing, but it allows us to focus on what we're thinking about and what we're talking about, because the doodling itself is not the thing that we're thinking about. So if we're thinking about, I'm going to be launching a product and I'm thinking about what could I do as a lead magnet for this product that I want to launch. So then start doodling that with that thought in your head. And if you're thinking about that thought in your head, it's going to allow you to focus, because like I said, there's something that happens with our brain when we actually put a pen or a pencil in our hands, pen or pencil in our hands, and we start to write, or excuse me, we start doodling. There's something amazing that happens. It lets our shift, it I'm not going to get into all the science of it today. But I will sometimes, if you ask me. I can get into it. Don't ask me about it. We can shift into another state of mind. And what our goal with this is to allow our brain, just like Einstein did, to have these insights and these aha moments, and just spend some time tapping into that right side of our brain. And like I said, I wanted to say this one part too, and I debated about putting this slide in here, but then I thought, no, 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 because I know what happens when I say, when I ask people to do stuff like, oh, I can't draw. That's not me. I don't do that kind of stuff. Look, if you can draw a square and a circle and a triangle, you can doodle. So don't use that as an excuse of, oh, that's not me. I don't draw. If you can do any of those things, and I know all of us learned that in kindergarten, there's no reason why you can't doodle. And again, nobody's like judging you or something like that. So the important piece about this that I'm bringing up, why I'm even talking about this in the first place, is that doing something creative like that keeps your mind in motion. It stops you from just sitting there and staring at like a blank Google Doc and going, oh, what am I going to say? Or, oh my God, what's my lead magnet? I don't know. And I can assure you that anything that you do, whether you're walking your dog, whether you're doodling, whether you're painting, or whether you're creating your social media images like I do, once you start doing this action, the inspiration is going to come to you. It is going to be drawn to you, because what you're doing is you're releasing the thoughts from this side and moving them into this side. And when you allow that to happen, that is when the ideas really come to you. So for those of you who are watching this, especially for those of you on the replay, I did want to tell you that what we're talking about, for when I said I'll tell you about your next steps, is I have set up a content group in LinkedIn. And I'm going to do something completely different than anything that I've ever done before. So what my goal is with the LinkedIn group is for us to work on our marketing together. It's not so much me teaching in there as it is for us to support each other. It's for us to spend time helping each other out with other like-minded business owners. And that is my main goal for that. As a matter of fact, when you do join the group, there is a video that I have pinned to the very, very top, and you can read and you can listen to it, and it will give you all of the details about what we're going to be doing in the group and why it will be so cool for you to join us. Now, the really important reason that I am bringing up the group today is one of the things that I'm going to be doing throughout this entire year is every single month, we are going to do a Zoom session, which is just for those of us in the LinkedIn group. So it's going to be free to participate, free to join the group, but you do need to take action to get the Zoom link. And for us to get together on the Zoom, it'll be there for you to ask questions. It'll be there for you to say, okay, here's my sales page. Can I get some feedback on it? It'll be there for you to say, okay, here's the goals that I'm working on. I went through the replay and I wanted to share with you guys where my goals are. And I answered these questions and I wanted to see, does anybody else see this connection that I'm seeing? Or there's a piece here, it feels like it's missing. Can you help me with this? You know, that's the kind of thing that I'm looking for us to do into this group. So yes, we're on LinkedIn and we're not on Facebook. And all I can say is, if you are not on LinkedIn and you are a business owner, let this be that final push that you need to get you onto LinkedIn. Because if you, like I said, if you're not if you're a business owner, or if you're in business, which I'm assuming you are, and that's why you're here with me and you're watching this on the replay, and you're not on LinkedIn, you are missing out on opportunities for you to find partnerships, for you to find clients, for you to find more customers, for you to grow your reach online. So I don't need to sell you on LinkedIn, but I am telling you that we're not doing this on Facebook. We are doing this on LinkedIn. All right. So how are you going to get this all done? Ooh, I'm so excited about sharing this with you. Okay, Cooper. I'm sorry. Hold on. Sorry about that. He's decided that he had to go through the smallest point between me and the desk to get under the desk. So if you see the anything shaking for a few minutes, that's him. Sorry about that, everybody. All right. Welcome to my world. Okay, so this is the productivity process. And like I said to you before, I have worked on this for me personally. I've taken a couple of my clients through this last year, and I cannot tell you how much I got done. It was amazing that when I stuck with this process and I did the steps the way they were supposed to, and that's how this works. You have to do this in the steps that they are supposed to be in the order that it goes in, or it doesn't work. So let's talk about this. This is the process that I truly believe that if you go through this, you're going to start to create changes and you are finally going to reach your goals. So if 2024 is the space where your business is finally going to blank, this is the way that I think that you're going to do this. I call this RBI: research, brainstorm, and implement. So RBI stands for research, brainstorm, and implement. And here's the way this works. You do the first thing, research, you go through the brainstorm, you go through the implement. And I'm going to go through each one of these steps individually, and I'm going to give an example of something that I'm currently working on right now and how this works. But you can't go from one step to the next until you've finished the first one. So you can't just spend, a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks doing research and then going straight to implement without the brainstorm. And you can't just start brainstorming stuff and researching and brainstorming and researching and never implement anything. So they have to be in this exact order. So let me take you through this process. This is what it works. And I'm going to give you some examples here. So let's talk about research. When we start with the research, I want you to be specific and give yourself a time limit. So when you research, it's not I'm researching for like a month or 2 or 3 or 4 months. No, 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 no. Here's my example. Right now, I have already discovered how to be consistent with my content on YouTube. I don't struggle with that, but what I am struggling is how to grow my YouTube subscribers. So I'm in the process of doing the research. And because I'm unfamiliar with how to grow my research subscribers, I can't just look up, how to do this, because I don't know. So what I did was I ran research on, give me 5 things I could do to grow my YouTube subscribers. I looked on Pinterest. I found some stuff on Pinterest. I've also found some stuff on Google. And so I'm going through the research. And what I'm going to be doing is when I find those 5 things that are my research, I stop. And then I will brainstorm. So I'm not going to take my 5 things and research them some more, and then research those some more, and research those some more, where I just fall down the research rabbit hole. Come on, we all done it, and nothing ever gets done. I stop after I did my 5 things. That's what I meant by be specific. Because I can always start this process back over again. It's just because I do it once doesn't mean I can stop. So then I can review those 5 things, and I'll take my top 3 ideas that I've uncovered. And what I usually do is I go for a walk with this. And how do I make this work for my business? If I need to take several walks, I will. If I need to do something else, I can do that if I don't feel like it. Again, the idea here is to take these ideas and to spend some time in that right brain that I was talking about, that stuff that Einstein was doing. And I don't want you to imitate what you found online in your research. I want you to innovate. Two separate words. So we've learned all of this stuff from the research. And now our goal with the brainstorm is, how can I innovate it? How can I take what I've learned and innovate it to make it work for my business, to make it work for me as a person, how I am and who I am and who I represent, myself and in my business online. Because imitating somebody else is just copying somebody else's work. The idea is to take it and to innovate it and to turn it into our work and our information and our marketing and our business strategy and so on and so forth. So then I take those 3 ideas that I've uncovered. And like I said, I usually go for a walk. Walking is just like amazing to me. I'm fortunate that I live in the state of Florida. So what we think is cold, all you people up north are like, that's like spring weather, so I get to walk all year long, unless we have a hurricane or something like that. So that's my thing. So everybody can have a different type of thing. You could do something as simple as sitting on your back porch and looking at your garden or something like that. Whatever it is that you want to do, find some time to sit in that right brain and to innovate what it is that you had learned from your research. We're not going back and researching more of it. We're in brainstorm. So then once we've gone through that and we have brainstormed this information, then we implement it. The idea is to create an action plan. The idea is to then create an action plan that has timelines, that has deadlines, that says, okay, I'm going to do the things that I've just learned by the end of next week. That's when it's going to get done. And you can't move on to the next research topic until you have implemented these things. And that's the way RBI works. So you go from research to brainstorm to implement. And so I could circle around and I could spend, I don't know, a couple months working through how to grow my YouTube subscribers. But I could then, to start back over again. Let's say I had 5 ideas. I used my top 3 ideas. I started to brainstorm some ideas. I came up with a really good brainstorm about something that I wanted to do. I implemented it. So then I've got these other the other 2 ideas that I had liked. I can start all back over again and go back into it even deeper and to research one of those ideas. Or I could research something else that I had found in my first initial research and go deeper into that. And then once that research is done, I go into brainstorm. And then from the brainstorm, I go into implement. And they always must be, because what I learned is how many of us will spend so much time going through the research rabbit hole and just falling down and down and down. And you're so overwhelmed. And this is what happened with one of my clients. And we have to keep pull her back because she was a huge research person, just enormous. She loved to research. And then she would show up to our monthly meetings and she would research all of this information. And she had overwhelmed herself so much that she would just like throw it at me and go, where do I start? Well, first thing you could start is stop researching. Just stop where you are right there. Pick one thing. Let's brainstorm and implement. Pick one thing, brainstorm and implement. And when I finally got her to stop going down the research rabbit hole and doing the brainstorm and implementing, and then research, brainstorm, implementing, when I finally got her on board with that, she got to a place where she finally created her programs and she was ready to launch by the end of last year, which was so exciting to see. So that's the process. And we have to do them each step at a time, because one of the things that happens that I learned is that we get so used to researching, and then we don't do anything, or we're just trying to implement something without even having any research of it, or even know what it is that we want to brainstorm about. So we have to do it in this order. I know I sound really strict, and it's not normally like me because I'm normally a flexible kind of person, but I'm telling you right now, I did this last year, and I cannot believe how much I accomplished, how much further I pushed my business along, where I got to at the end of last year versus so many years before of always wanting to get there and always wanting to do more and never really getting done because I too would fall down the research rabbit hole. So I love this. I love this process. And if you have any questions for me one-on-one, let me know, or you can ask me at the very end of the workshop. But one of the things that I found really cool about RBI, and I did this myself, and I also had my client do this, is I asked her to keep a journal and notes as she was moving through each RBI process, because what ended up happening is while we were moving through it, we were able to come up with really amazing content ideas. Amazing content ideas for lead magnets as one of the things that we did. Content ideas for her blog posts. Content ideas for what we were going to do with her email sequence, like her welcome email sequence. So if you'll take notes and sort of follow yourself along this process, it's actually going to be very helpful for you. It may not seem it at very first, but when you finally get down to that implementation stage and you've got all these notes in front of you, you're like, oh my God, this is going to really help me when I'm ready to implement this. And I want you to think about this, because one of the things that's really important about this process too is, and I said this here on the slide, it does help you create those important touch points. I said specifically the consideration phase, but I imagine it would also be very good for the awareness stage and the decision stage, but mostly for the consideration stage, because we're really going deep into the brainstorm, innovation, and all of that kind of stuff. So think about this RBI, and hopefully maybe this will help you move forward with your business in 2024. So let's go. Let's keep moving forward here into 2024. Let's get into the strategy here. This is the thing that you all came for. This is the meat of it. So let's talk about this. I want to talk about the why, what, who, when, where, and how. So let's get right into this. Again, this is going to be one of those sections where I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of things. I'm going to have a whole bunch of prompts. By all means, go back through it with the replay, hit that pause button, because as I said to you with the very first part of it, and I'm going to say this to you again, when you do answer these questions and you do fill out these prompts, you are going to see a plan come into place. You're going to be able to see what happened last year and how you're going to be able to move forward into this year. So let's talk about your why. If you haven't done any work on this and you don't even know what I'm talking about, do a little research on a man named Simon Sinek. He is the one that started this whole process about us talking about our why. Our why is what makes people buy. Our why is why we get up in the morning and we work. So what is your why? And it can't just be because I need to pay my mortgage this month. I mean, we all have to pay our mortgage or rent or whatever it is. It's more than that. There's a reason that we're all in business, that we're in work that we're doing, because we could be doing something else. So what is your why? And think about how this can get translated into your content marketing. So I want you to think through these things as I was moving through this. What is the plan? I want you to review what you did last year. I want you to think about what worked. And if there is something that worked really, really well, is there something more that you can add to the promotion? And let's take a step back here, because you know what? This part right here, this plan, this is a perfect place for you to practice RBI. You can research what you did, where you went through, what happened, and then you can brainstorm to help you innovate what happened last year and think about how you can add to the promotion. And then you can implement it by thinking about what's the call to action, what's the pain point that you're focusing on. So this whole thing right here, this whole screen can be done with RBI, your research, brainstorm, and implement. So think about it from that perspective as well. So when we're thinking about our plan, we want to ask ourselves all of these types of questions. And when we're, especially when you're in that brainstorm and you're in that innovate, if the plan is to hit, this revenue goal, is the plan is to sell to X number of clients, is the plan to do this, when you were in that creative space, what came to you? What is something that you did last year that worked? What is something that was challenging you that you rose up to differently? What can you do to make this plan keep moving forward? So I want you to think about it from that perspective, not just what's the plan, type it all out, and then let it sit in a Google Doc and nobody ever sees it until the end of next year. And you're like, oh yeah, I forgot this was even in here, that kind of thing. So our next thing is we always ask ourselves, who are you reaching? Who is your target? Narrow down who your target customer is. If you haven't done any work on your target customers, RBI is a great thing to do. You can research your target, you can brainstorm, you can think about how you're going to reach this target, and then you can implement this. So you want to think about who you are reaching, and I want you to be real specific about that. It's not just women, it's not just business owners, it's probably women 35 plus. It could be men 18 to 24. I want you to think about it from that perspective, because the way your marketing is going to be talking to a woman who is 45 years old is going to be totally different than if you're talking to a man who is 25. Completely different. So that has everything to do with your marketing, and you want to make sure that you are reaching the right people for your products. And if you really don't know who you're reaching, do some research. Do some research. And I don't mean just about the products themselves, but think about the person and their lifestyles and their behaviors. And that has everything to do with the marketing too, especially if you're talking to a younger crowd. Are they on TikTok? An older crowd, are they still on Twitter? Were they on Facebook? Because their lifestyle and their behaviors is going to determine where you're going to show up. And so when you're thinking about who you're reaching, you're also thinking about how they utilize social media, how they search online, how they do their own research. Do they Google it? Do they go to YouTube and run a search there? Do they run a search on Pinterest? What are their lifestyles and their behaviors of this target customer? Because that has everything to do with how your business is going to show up and where you're going to show up. And if you've never done anything like this before, you can always run a survey. There's a whole bunch of programs out there that do free surveys, and you can just ask people to fill this out. If you don't have an email list where you can submit your survey, you can ask some people in a Facebook group that could help you too. So if you haven't spent any time understanding who you are reaching in your target, you can do RBI. You could do your research, brainstorm, and implement, and that will help you learn more about who you are trying to reach. And we want to talk about when. So we have an idea about what we're trying to do. We have an idea about who we want to reach. And then we want to get real specific at that point. Plan out the dates in your calendar. I always say that if you're going to be launching a product, if there's something that's going on, is your company connected to times of year? Are you connected to holiday seasons? Or are you connected to, summer, fall, winter? Those things should be included in your marketing plan. And I always say that let's say you wanted to start something because you have a program that works with parents who have kids in school. So if I'm working with parents who have kids in school, I have certain times of the year. Summer, they get out of school. Fall, they go back to school. Right around the winter, we take winter break. All of these things get factored in to parents if they are, especially moms, if they are my target. So we start at the end of where we're going to launch, and we work backwards with our milestones. So we want to think about it from that perspective. And so we want to actually put dates in the calendar. And I always recommend that you put dates in the calendar in pencil, not pen, or type it out so that you can delete it, because things have a way of shifting and moving, and I totally get that. But it's better to put dates in the calendar than it is to just be flying by the seat of your pants. So you want to think about your when. You want to start working through this process. And if you've never done anything like this before, my suggestion is always going to be um, do a brain dump. Think a brain dump of all the things that you have to do to launch the product, all the things that you're going to do for that sale, all the things that you're going to do for that marketing campaign, all of those things. List it all out in a brain dump, and then just kind of move it into different categories. Okay, that's marketing. Okay, that's social media. Okay, that's me creating videos. Okay, that's me doing this. Kind of put it into categories. And then you can take a look at things and you can see this needs to be first, this needs to be second, this needs to be third. You can kind of see that you can't just, do a video if you don't know what you're going to be talking about, and put the content together. So the content has to come first before you can create the video. It's kind of clear to you once you start to see your categories. And then when you start to see your categories and you can see what comes first and you can see what comes next, that's how you then put them in the calendar. So if you've never done this before, that's one of the best things you can do. Just do a brain dump, sort of move them into categories. And from there, you'll be able to tell by looking at your list how to put them all into the how to put them into the calendar. So then we talk about where. Where is just as important as the what and the when, because we want to think about the social media sites again, what I was talking about with the who. When we look at who we're talking to, we want to make sure that we are showing up in the social media sites where they are. We're not showing up at a social media site because this is what I like to do. I like to be on Instagram. Doesn't everybody else want to be on Instagram? Well, if that's not who my client is, and my client's on TikTok, I'm missing out. I'm missing out on an entirely different opportunity to reach these people. So it's really, really important that we understand where our customers are hanging out, because we want to be there. And we don't just want to be there and just put a post up and leave. We want to engage there because of the way that the algorithm works. When the algorithm sees you there interacting, that's when it will show your post more often. So if you're just in there just to throw in a post and then to leave and never go back again and never hit a like button on somebody, never comment, never read somebody's post, never click over to a video, if you're just there just to drop in and not participate, the algorithm sees that. And so it's super important that you understand where you need to go to reach the customers that you're trying to reach. Where could also be your email newsletter. Where is also live streaming. Are you live streaming on Facebook? Are you live streaming on YouTube? Are you live streaming on LinkedIn? Are you going to create videos? Do you have a podcast? Do you want to be a guest on people's podcasts? We want to think about all of these pieces and parts about how we're going to reach these customers. It has everything to do with doing that research about understanding who we are trying to reach and what are their lifestyles and their behaviors. Let's say our lifestyles and behaviors, let's go back to our example that I was using before about moms with kids that are in school. If those are the people that we're trying to reach, we want to think about where they're hanging out and how they utilize these social media sites, how they're utilizing live streaming. Do they listen to podcasts? Are they the type of people that will read an email newsletter? So we want to think about that, because if we're doing all this work, creating videos and sending out these email newsletters, and they're just over here on TikTok having a good old time, and we're not seeing them and they're not seeing us, this is one of the reasons why your marketing strategy is not working. So when all of these pieces come together, it's not that they're individual, they're all connected to each other. So when I talk about where, it's so important for you to understand that who and the what, it's all connected to that as well. And the big thing that I want to also emphasize when it comes to the where is it's not just about where we're going to show up and how we're going to, the emails, the videos, the podcast or whatever, but where are you sending them? What is the call to action? I cannot begin to tell you how many times that I've had conversations with clients, And they'll do this and they'll do this. And I say, well, what's its purpose? Well, I just thought it would be a really fun thing to do. I love fun things to do. Don't get me wrong. I love a good fun thing to do, but I'm not going to tell you to spend 2 months of your business life creating a fun thing to do if it doesn't have a purpose. So where are we sending them? And what is its purpose? There's going to be some sort of call to action, right? Am I sending you to my website? Am I sending you to a landing page so that it's where my sales is? Am I sending you to download this lead magnet so you can get on my email sequence? Because on my email sequence, I'm building up to sell you on my XYZ product. What's going on here? So it's not just the where are you showing up, but where are we sending them? Because we want it to go someplace. Because what's the point of marketing if it doesn't help you grow your business and it doesn't help you make money? So don't forget that it's not just about where you show up, but where are you sending them? So that's a huge part of this. And then the how. So we've got all that stuff. We understand our why. We've got the sketch of the plan. We have figured out who we're talking to. We've got a pretty clear idea about when all of these products and when all these timelines, when all these deadlines are going to come into place, milestones, whatever word you want to use. We're pretty clear about where we're going to show up, where we're sending them. So now we get to the how. And how is all of this going to come together? How are you going to run this marketing campaign? You've got your action items that you want to do. Do you need to outsource any work? Is there a system that you need to put in place? You know, if you find out that you are going to be doing, I'll use my own example from earlier, YouTube. When I started doing YouTube videos, I ended up creating my own internal process. I ended up putting it into Evernote because that's the thing that I like to do. I like to use Evernote, but I had to put a system in place so that I could be consistent with my YouTube videos to make sure that I could get those out there. So is there a system that you have to put in place? Because I had to do this. I had to write the copy. I had to find the videos. Because I do a lot of downloads, free downloads of my videos during in the video. You know, then I had to record. I had to find the program that I could record from. I had to edit. You know, so there's all of these steps that I had to create. So I had to create my own personal system to get it done. So when we think about our how isn't just our action steps. Is there a system that you need to put in place that you don't have already? And that's one of the things that you're going to learn as you keep moving through this process. And how are you going to measure your progress? How are you going to handle the obstacles that you face? Kind of bringing us all around full circle to the very beginning of where I started. How are you going to measure your progress? Are you going to be using your social media analytics? Are you going to monitor something yourself that you can use real data, real live numbers, not just guessing, I think that 10 people saw it. Look at the real numbers. Look at the real data. And don't be afraid to look at it. And it's okay if it's low, because then we learn from it. Then we learn and we think, okay, was it the image? Was it the copy? Am I in the right social media site where I need to be reaching these people? That's one of the reasons why we check our analytics, because our analytics will show us that we are making progress. And if we're not making progress, it also gives us the opportunities to learn how to tweak what it is that we're doing so that we can start moving forward. So I want you to think about it from that perspective as well. So when you work out your plan, you're going to put the whole thing together here. We've got milestone dates, right? Type out your plan, monitor your progress, be open to making changes. And that's one of the big things that a lot of people do. They kind of hold on to their plan and they're like, I am not going to let this thing go, even though you get to a point where you're like, oh, it's just not working for me. And I know that feeling because I was getting ready to launch something at the beginning of this year. And right around December timeframe, I realized I was not ready. And I had to make changes with what I was doing. And so I started reworking my plan because I knew that if I launched in January the way I wanted to, it wasn't going to be a strong launch, that was hoping for, and there was other things that needed to happen. So I want you to make sure that you continue to be open to making changes. And the last thing I want to share with you all is to give yourself time to celebrate your wins. I don't think that we do that enough. I think that we spend so much time being concerned about things that didn't go right, things that cause us problems, things that are challenging to us. And then maybe something really good will go by and we'll go like, yeah, it was good. And we'll just keep on going and act like it never even happened. I want you to spend some time in 2024 that when something really, really good happens, that you make some time to celebrate your wins. And it could be something as simple as, giving yourself a day off. It could be something as simple as, going out to dinner or whatever it is that you do that makes you happy. Find some time in 2024 that as you're moving through your marketing, as you're moving through what's going on with your business, that you are celebrating your wins, that you are acknowledging how much you've done and how you got here to this place that you're able to celebrate. So spend some time celebrating your wins. And if you haven't done this before, I can give you some ideas about that if you need some help with that. Okay, so we've got time for questions. I know I've got a few people here that if anybody wants to ask some questions, you are more than welcome to. For those of you who are watching the replay, what I'm going to do is I would advise you to in the because I'm going to have this up on my YouTube channel, in the comments below, if you have any questions for me, ask me down there and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And the YouTube channel is Create Your Business. And don't forget to join us. I do want to remind you, I hope that you all are listening to me, that we are going to be doing some amazing stuff in my Create Remarkable Content group, which is on LinkedIn. And we will be starting this month. And this month, what we're going to do is we're going to start with this workshop right here. And we're going to have a follow-up Zoom session, but only those people who are in the LinkedIn group are going to get the link and are going to be able to participate. So it's free to participate. And like I said before, if you have not set up your LinkedIn account and you are in business, let this be that final push to get you, even if you just need to set up a profile and put your name up there and put your website and put your little picture up there. You don't even have to fill out the whole thing, but just be on LinkedIn and come here and be a part of this group, because I really think that this is the opportunity that I know that I was looking for. My goal behind this group is to give us the opportunity to stop working on our marketing alone, to stop just working in a bubble and thinking something's going to go well and hoping that this is going to go well. And how great is it if you've got a group of other like-minded business owners, and somebody might even be your customer, to be able to say, I love that idea that you did, but you know what would really resonate with somebody like me is if you said X, Y, and Z. How amazing would that be if somebody were to say that to you as you're developing your marketing content? How incredible would that be as you're working on your sales page and somebody goes through your sales page and goes, this doesn't make sense to me, but this right here would really, really help me. So that's what I want us to do. I want us to start feeling like you have a place that you can ask questions, that you can get help with your challenges, that you can not feel so all alone with your marketing. Because I think a lot of us feel like we're just doing this in this little bubble that we live in. And we're like, okay, this is my marketing campaign, hope. And hope is not a marketing campaign. So that is my goal with the group. And so I'm hoping that we'll be able to get together, and we're going to be doing this every single month. We're going to do a Zoom session every single month. I'm not going to be doing workshops every month, but this month we're going to focus on this workshop and talk a lot about our goals and our challenges. And so I hope you join me there. And there is the link to join. And I just saw a question. Let me get so Renell is asking, can you give me some ideas for researching Instagram and maybe Instagram and Facebook? So I would start, Renell, by just saying, if you're doing RBI, do what I just did for YouTube. Can you give me 5 good ideas to grow my Instagram, and be specific. That's what I meant about, and what I wrote was to grow my Instagram, excuse me, to grow my YouTube subscribers. So if you are asking me about Instagram and Facebook, be specific. What do you want from it? Do you want to grow the number of followers? Do you want to grow my impressions and my views? Do I want to get better content that's going to get more engagement? So when you ask the question, be specific, knowing that if after you follow through with it, you can always go back. So let's just say, and I'm going to use you as an example right now. Let's say your first thing was, I want to grow all of it, Penny. So let's go first thing at a time. So let's say I want to grow my engagement. So I'll run my research. How can I grow and increase my engagement on Facebook? And then I'll do all of that on Facebook. I'll do my brainstorm. I'll do my implementation. And then after I finish that, then I can run that research again, go, how can I grow my engagement on Instagram? And then do the whole process again. So you want to be very specific, because the answers you're going to get for engagement are going to be different than followers.
Mhm.
Renelle, do you want to just ask me instead of messaging? Because I think you
Oh,
wanna just
yeah,
talk to me. You can just talk to me too if you want. I'm good with that.
that's true.
You can.
So,
So ask me, talk to me. Let's talk about this.
all right. So real quickly, I know other people are here too. Um,
You're good.
my my events are doing okay, are doing, I think we're doing good, or gaining momentum, seems to be working. Shop owners, it's really not working.
Yeah.
They don't feel like they're seeing business. They don't feel like they're getting value from the featured listing, and they're not renewing.
Okay.
Not all of them,
Understand.
but a percentage of them, and that's very. And I haven't. I do have, I've grown a following on Instagram just by running Facebook, Instagram ads, Penny.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
necessarily, I haven't posted in forever. I feel bad. I need to post.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I've heard people say they sell items on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to figure out a way to help, maybe that the shop owners can see some value.
Okay. I think on Instagram, people are selling through an Instagram shop. Like, you set up a store,
Oh, okay.
it's
That's,
connected. I've done this.
yeah,
I did this with the Create Your Business program, and I put the boxes up there. Um,
yeah.
I believe it gets set up through, when I did it, it was through Facebook, because your Facebook gets connected to your Instagram account. And
Okay.
then it shows up. And then what happens is you are able to like tag a product
Mm-hmm.
on your post. And when you tag it, you've probably seen it before. And when you've seen somebody's Instagram post, and it underneath, it's got like it'll be highlighted in a color that's
Mm-hmm.
connected to whatever's going on the post. And it'll say shop. There's something that'll say shop product or whatever. I don't know the exact terminology it's using right now, but that's one of the things so I would look at that. If that's a thing, and you can switch out the products. So let's say one of your client that's on your top tier, that you're really wanting to make sure that you get them to renew, and that they wanted to see more results. Maybe one of their products, maybe one of their items gets
That's
put
what
in
I
your
was
shop.
thinking. Yeah,
Gets
because Penny, I don't really have a product to post. I don't
Yeah,
care
you
about
don't, but they do.
posting a product
But they
for
do.
myself,
Yeah.
or I don't care about growing a following necessarily. I just want to help
Mhm.
help my shop owners get some sales if I can use my Instagram to do that.
So then what I would say is to run your research. Run your research on, how can I make more sales on Instagram? Start
Okay.
there. And there could be, I mean, my first thought was the shop, but when you run your research, it might say, run a story every single day and highlight them in a story.
And Penny, where are you going to type this in? Are you talking about AI, or
No,
what do
I'm just
you?
talking about, like, Google. Do a Google search.
Okay,
Do a
sure.
Google search, run it on Pinterest. Um,
Sure.
search on, because AI is just going to give us copy and content.
Okay.
What I want you to find are answers. I want you to find somebody who's written a blog post about this.
How
Uh,
can I sell a product on Instagram or a vintage item on
yeah.
Instagram or
Oh yeah, I
something?
get real. Yeah, say vintage item on Instagram. Yeah, that kind of thing. I can tell you, I've got a good friend of mine here locally. She has a shop in the Orlando area, and what she does is she's like a vintage store, and different parts of her store are leased out to different
Mm-hmm.
vendors, kind of
Mm-hmm.
sort of like you, because you're doing it online, but she has a brick and mortar store.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have a product either, like you. She's selling their products.
Right.
So one of the things that I see her do all the time is she does stories. She does these little videos, and she will highlight one particular product, and she'll talk about that vendor. Sometimes she does vendor highlights, and she'll talk about this person does this. If you're looking for vintage clothing, this is a great place. This is a great person to talk to. If you're looking for furniture, this is a good person to talk to. So she's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like, what's the word I'm looking, the curator, for lack of a better word, of her
Yes.
store. She's not selling anything. It's the vendors that are all selling things, but she does really, really well. And when we get done with the workshop, I'll give you her Instagram account so you can take a look at the work that she's done.
Oh, that would be awesome.
And so that might be something to look at, but that's what I mean by research. Be real specific. Say, how can I make more sales, vintage sales on Instagram? And
Yes.
you don't,
Yes.
and I don't know, because I mean, it's been so long since you and I've worked together. I'm not in your world as much anymore as you are. So that's one of the things that I would do. I would start there, and just keep researching, and give yourself like a deadline. For me, I always say, give me the top 3 things. Give me the first 5 things.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was doing my research for YouTube, I came across something that I'd never heard of before. I was like, "What? What is this?" And then when they talked about it, I was like, "Oh my God, I've seen this on other people's YouTube. I didn't know it had a name. I didn't know it was a thing. And apparently it does grow your subscribers. Well, that's interesting. I learned something." So when we do our research, we're getting a real specific question in our mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so start right there. And so that's what I would do. I would look, and you would also, and maybe also your research includes vintage stores on Instagram. And if you could
Yes.
find some other vintage stores on Instagram and look and see what they're doing and how and then maybe follow them and see how are they promoting their content, because just like you, the only difference is like I said, she's got a brick and mortar store and yours is a website, but overall it's still the same
It
principle.
is.
It's the same idea. So if it's really working for her, I imagine that if we could take that information and then innovate it
Oh,
for
yeah.
you, then we could find a way to take that idea and make it work for you. Because if we're seeing it that it's working really well for somebody else, then we know that it's kind of tested and true, that these vintage people are interested in this, and this is how they're functioning, and this is where they're hanging out, and this is where they're spending their time. So I know that I can reach them at this point. So that would be my thought about where to start and how to do this,
Okay.
and go from there. Is that helpful?
Very, very helpful. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I know I had somebody that keeps going in and out, and I don't know what happened to her. I don't know, Kate, if you had anything for me. If not, then I can wrap this up for everybody.
No, I'm good.
You're good? All right. Well, I will definitely wrap this up, and I'll give you that information, Renelle, when we get done. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. I look forward to 2024 and learning more about you and your businesses. And I do hope that you join us in the LinkedIn group, because I do think this is going to be, like I said, free to participate, but an opportunity for you to take a lot of action to help your business. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the next time that we can meet, and I appreciate everything that you've done. And as I always say at the end of all of my videos, You are magnificent, my friend, and let me be the first to say, I'm proud of you. Thank you so much. All righty.
Oh, yes. That was very helpful.
Recording.
Thank you.